Okay. We will call this meeting of the Madison Elementary School District Governing Board to order. Ms. Humphries, will you please call the roll?
President Gresham.
Here.
Vice President Thompson.
Present.
Member Holcomb.
Here.
Member Kazi.
Here.
Member Spear.
Here.
All are present.
Thank you. And can I have a motion to adopt the agenda?
So moved. Second.
That was Ms. Spear and Ms. Thompson. Please vote. Will it pop up? I mean, the results. Do we have the results?
No, we're looking behind you.
Behind you.
We're looking past you.
Sorry,
Madam President,
Sarah.
do you want to just do a voice? There we go. Do you want to just, do you want to just do a voice vote?
Yeah, maybe we'll just do a quick voice vote. All those in favor of adopting the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? And that passes. And we do have a call for an executive session. We need a motion for that, correct?
Move, we go into executive session.
Second.
Oh,
Moved by Mr. Holcomb, seconded by Ms. Kazi. And we need to vote.
Who's the second one?
Ms. Kazi, thank you. Sorry, we're keeping you busy this one.
Definitely on my feet.
Okay, and that passes. We're in executive session.
I had to test them to make sure that they were working. Thank you. Hi, how are you? Sorry, we lost.
because
we're not meeting until 6. We're just.
It was a little early, but
Did you have some? Yes. Sorry, I. There's hopefully everybody got something because there's quite a bit left over. Yeah, that's what you were supposed to. That's what he made. He made one of each for everyone, and everything just gets better than the thing that you ate before. Shared with me yesterday that he had the asparagus for something he did at the school, and he saved the fibrous parts of the asparagus for this. Well, he wasn't planning on doing this, but he just saved them because he doesn't want to throw food away, and he knows he can reuse it at a later time. So, just a brilliant person. Yes, there's enough left over.
oh, it was really good.
Lori, did you have any? I understand.
I should have asked during this time, as far as like the.
No, I will just unmute them.
Okay.
Only because I'll forget for the next person. But no other one should be muted because
Okay.
they'll do that on their end.
Perfect. I just wanted to make sure, and I apologize for the agenda.
Oh, that's
I
okay.
really overlooked that, and I was like in my head, I know I'm missing something, but I was like, I'm just gonna see what it is, and sure enough, it was like the most important thing.
That's all right. Not a problem. Yeah, you got it up there, so.
Yeah, I think we're gonna be okay moving forward. If that was the
Yes.
first hurdle, and hopefully the only one.
Good evening. You got here earlier.
Be good after that. Back in the cold.
Let me turn it up a little bit.
We're all comfy in there.
I don't think we're gonna have a big crowd. That's what it felt like.
Totally unnecessary.
Exactly. Yeah, help yourself.
Who has a really nice white baby van. They don't step down school organization. No, we ran so hard. I've heard that they offered them first and they said they don't have space. It's a Pfeiffer, it's a baby van.
Not even in the entry?
That's what I thought. I made that was the first place I made the.
Did you have to talk to Lori?
No, I didn't talk to her.
Lori?
Mm-hmm.
Would we want a white, is it white?
Yeah.
A white baby grand piano in the entry? Atrium of the, when we rent it out,
Yeah, that's the moving a piano like that.
you just,
Moving is. Oh, yeah? That's the problem. Right? Yeah, no, I do too. Okay.
And none of the schools have room.
I mean, our church remodeled.
I know the boys' choirs are all baby grands. You know, Paige Stone's course just moved into Central Area. That's their new home. This is where Rosie's place used to be.
I was gonna try, is Rosie's place still around?
Rosie's place, they built their own building out in Washington.
That was gonna be because I've got a thing in the sound.
I would talk to, yeah, I would talk to, well, Sounds doesn't have the space. I would talk to Becky Ballard.
We're gonna have a meeting with Sounds in the next couple weeks.
Oh, are you? Oh, he's a great guy.
Yeah, he is a great guy.
Yeah.
I was so impressed with him.
Yeah, no,
I love the
get
mission
Voice
of
America grants together.
your zip code does not dictate if you can play an instrument. It's awesome.
Do you have a contact?
I have several contacts, yeah. Becky
one?
Ballard is the CEO at, Rosie's house, and then Troy Meeker is like the district director of Kingston.
How about, I can, so we need to do the website for you. I can
I'll
send you the
email you,
information.
I'll email you, yeah, I'll do that. No worries.
Someone want to make this?
We've got our Kiwanis meeting with Molly Dodd this week.
Yes, yeah, so we've got about a dozen people, we'll see. Crowds have been small, but oh well.
Has it been small?
Well, I had my Kiwanis meetings. Yeah, it's service clubs are.
Millennials don't join, not joining.
No, they're not church. They want to do things, but it's all the planning and all the stuff
Yeah.
to do it. And it's just,
It's a challenge. I think it's something we need to figure out, how do you engage? There's gotta be a way, because they do exciting things, I know it, because I've
Right,
It's just finding, like, how do you make those connections? So
right. And a lot of them, they want to do their own thing.
Yeah,
That's the difference. Well, and big part of it was, it's been on a downcline ever since they changed the business model. You know, it used to be banks
right,
and all types of
Right.
different businesses would say, you need to go out and join.
right.
You know, it was part of your requirement. If you're going to be a young executive, this is how you network. This is how you serve the
Build
community,
relationships.
build relationships. You go
Those are
join the
your favorite,
Rotary,
right?
just
Yeah, 'cause all
on his
all the
lines.
companies are there, yeah.
Yeah, none of them do that anymore.
Yeah.
In fact, they say,
Yeah.
not only will they not pay the dues or that, but if you take the time off, it's all about hours in the office and that's been killed. So, yeah, all of our members are either retired or own their own businesses, or associated with schools.
How's Rotary Club 100 doing?
I don't know. The Kiwanis Club is enough. I've been president now 5 times. I mean, sort of holding it together, and I run their golf tournament, and I'm doing 4 camps this year. I come back.
It is definitely, it's an issue, because I mean, you hear about it, PTOs, like, you hear about it, like, boards of organizations are being challenged right now, like,
Mhm.
board members.
Oh, yeah.
It's a challenge throughout
Oh,
the
yeah.
country.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's just, you can do great things, but there's only so much, the 20% can do, and when the 20% is 4 people,
My little makeshift to-go cups,
Oh, we got,
including food services, who's already turned me down, but they're still available. Fine.
good.
Thank you, Daniel.
Yes.
That asparagus soup.
I know.
Yeah,
It was as good as the asparagus soup I had in asparagus season in Germany. It was
Oh, wow.
Like,
Oh, yeah.
That's
it was
saying something.
Yeah.
so good.
Well,
Everything looks good. All cold.
this. Yes.
Yes.
Asparagus, I've never associated Germany with asparagus soup.
So we were there for the World Cup, like, 15 years ago? And it was summer, and it was asparagus season.
Uh-huh.
And it was just the seasonal, it was on almost every menu we were
Oh, yeah.
there because it was,
When asparagus is
it was
gone, it's
asparagus
gone.
was gone, and it was going,
Yeah.
and it'd be gone, and it was so good.
Uh-huh.
Just that creamy,
Yeah. Yes.
and not overly asparagus forward.
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
delicious.
It's grassy, it tastes grassy.
Right.
Yeah, it can.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was beautiful.
Yes. I'm glad you found that. You don't want to do the sausage because it's the worst. Yes.
Oh, the Phoenix Union named Thea Andrade as the permanent superintendent.
Oh, good.
She seemed like a very strong kid. The bios of all 3
Mhm.
finalists.
First ever female superintendent.
Yeah. Well, they're just behind us.
We will reconvene our regular meeting. Eduardo, would you like to lead us in the pledge, please?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
We're really having fun with it.
Yeah.
Sure not?
Okay, what are we on? We are on item 4.1, Superintendent's Report, Dr. Guerin.
Good evening, President Gresham, Vice President Thompson, members of the board, cabinet, and guests. February 26th through March 1st celebrates Public School Week. It's time to appreciate educators, students, and entire school communities while championing the value of public education. Did you know 9 out of 10 students attend public schools? Public School Week honors over 51 million students, 3.2 million teachers, and hundreds of thousands of specialists, administrators, and support staff working in public schools today. Join us in celebrating Public School Week, just 1 week late, by sharing on social media why you love your local school and make us public school proud. March 3rd through the 9th is School Social Worker Week. We are so fortunate to have a school social worker at every single one of our 8 campuses. It's a great way to recognize school social workers this week and celebrate the impactful work that they do, not only for staff, but for students and families. When I visit schools, community members repeatedly share, we do not know what we would do without our school social worker, so we truly appreciate and value them. Last weekend, Little Women was presented at the Madison Center for the Arts by the amazing staff and students of Madison No. 1. We did get a sneak peek at last board meeting. The performance received rave reviews. A special thanks to teacher Melanie Lang for leading such an amazing show. The Madison Education Foundation does so much for our students, including art masterpiece, field trips to the MIM, and so much more. I hope you will join me in supporting the foundation at their next 2 events. The Night at the Museum is on March 22nd. It's a fun, free family event. Art masterpieces come to life, art lessons, displays, live sketching, button making, and food trucks. What more could you ask for? I hope to see you at the Madison Center for the Arts for this amazing family event, and it's one of my favorite events of the year. The second Madison Education Foundation event is the Madison Gala, Viva Madison. This is their biggest fundraiser of the year. Please join us for a fun-filled casino night on April 27th. Get your tickets on the foundation website at madisoneducationfoundation.org. We will have a hiring fair on March 20th. This event is open to those interested in joining Madison as teachers, guest teachers, bus drivers, food service staff, custodial staff, before and after school program staff, school and classroom support, and anyone interested in learning more about employment opportunities with the district. We hope to see you there on March 20th from 4 to 6 in the Madison Center for the Arts. That's all I have tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Guerin. It's going to be a fun and busy spring. And we'll move on to our governing board member reports. I'll start with Mr. Holcomb.
Thank you. I got an opportunity to attend the parent-teacher organization luncheon yesterday. The food was great, and it's always so joyful going to those, because you hear what the PTOs are doing and what the PTAs and the effort that they put into the schools and all the good that comes out of it. But another thing too is you see how they partner together. I mean, it is really good to see everybody working together, helping each other out, and it's a really great sense of community. And it was a great event at the Madison. The only other thing I have is, we have spring break coming up, and I wish everybody to have a fun and safe spring break. Go and enjoy it, and then come back and finish off the year strong. That's all I have.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Spear, do you have anything?
I have nothing to add except to say thank you to our school social workers. We did not have social workers for many, many years. It was only within the last 6 years, I believe, that we've actually had social workers in our schools. They take care of a myriad of issues that our students present, and prior to that, oftentimes those needs would go unmet or become the purview of the school nurse or the school secretary or the school principal. And those are not jobs that don't already have a full plate. So I just wanted to say thank you to them very much, and also express my gratitude as a parent and a community member to this governing board for seeing fit to find budget to approve the salaries for those non-classroom essential employees. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kazi.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to echo the comments of my fellow board members, always well-spoken. Just really quickly, I had the opportunity to speak. There's an organization that a friend of mine has created called Women Talking, and they once a month have a panel discussion on a hot issue. They've tackled this year already immigration, the water they'll be tackling next, homelessness, and education. So they're tackling just the light topics in our state. And I had the opportunity to speak on the panel with Lisa Graham Keegan. And what was really, I think, fascinating, because these are relatively high-powered women in real estate, is that they were all attuned to the bottom line issue in education in the state is sufficient funding for, sufficient funding for public education. So I just wanted to share that. It's always lovely to be reminded that we know what we're talking about, and that is really the bottom line issue. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Ms. Thompson?
Thank you. I wanted to echo the sentiments of my fellow board members in thanking our school social workers during this week. They do so much critical work to support all of our students that is really necessary for our kids to be ready to learn in front of their classrooms. And that's why it's so important as we think about what money is available to our schools to have the flexibility where our administrations know it will be put to best use. Teacher salaries are obviously important, but we need the flexibility to address all issues in order to support our students. I'd also like to congratulate all the students who've been taking part in spring events this year. I think at the Madison tonight, as I parked to come into here, there were some kids getting ready to go in for a concert. I know my kiddos had their fourth grade Heights concert, an all Spanish concert last night. It went really well. They got to play their recorders and sing songs in Spanish. It was really lovely. Great job to the Heights team. As was said, number one had Little Women this weekend at the Madison, and I know there are many others to come. So congratulations to all of those programs having those events at the Madison. It's such a wonderful facility to be able to be used by each of our schools. I also wanted to add that our facilities aren't just used by our schools, they're used by a lot of outside organizations that serve our students. Rams is just ending their basketball season and have started their baseball season. They had their kickoff this last weekend at Simus. They're going to be there for 3 months. I'll be on that field every Saturday. And Riley Gherkin, who was one of the stars of Little Women, actually sang the national anthem this weekend. It was really lovely. So it's great to be able to use our facilities, not just for our schools in the regular day, but to be able to have them available for things like after-school sports, for scouts, and so many other things. So that's all I have right now.
Thank you, Ms. Thompson. Yes, I would add, I was able to go to Little Women last weekend. It was a wonderful show. And I would add that our community is welcome to go to those events as well when we have a school play or performance. We need to start getting the word out about that so we can show off all that our students are doing and their wonderful talents. Let's see, I forgot to mention a while back, and I forgot to bring it tonight. I went to the Meadows Paint Night, and yes, with craft nights, and I'll bring it next time and show off my mediocre painting skills. But that was a lot of fun. I also was able to go to the meeting for our MDCTA, our Madison District, blah, blah, blah. So that was great, yes, to talk to some teachers. And And then we had our PTO luncheons, which is always great. So that's all I have. And we will move on to item 5.1, the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
Move to adopt the consent agenda as presented?
I
Or
will second.
Are we approving the consent?
approving it, yes.
Thank you.
I had the 8 part right.
Motion by Mr. Holcomb, second by Ms. Spear. Please vote. You okay, Mr. Holcomb?
I'm having, yes, mine is going back to looking at something on the agenda package, and it's not going back. I don't know why. Same thing. Okay.
Sorry, one moment.
Sorry about that. I vote yes. We move forward. While I get myself back in.
Thank you.
Okay.
And that passed. We will move on to item 6.1. Ms. Humphries, any calls to the public this evening?
We have no calls to public today.
Thank you. And we'll go on to information items. 7.1, food service update.
President Gresham, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, I'll turn it over to Deputy Superintendent Lori Garvey to introduce this presentation.
Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Guerin and cabinet. Really excited to introduce Miss Kristen Soulsby and Miss Lexi Phelps, who are in our food service department and who are going to give you an update on all the things that are happening there.
Good evening, President Grisham, Vice President Thompson, members of the board, Dr. Guerin, members of the cabinet, and guests. Thank you so much for having us this evening and providing us an opportunity to give you an update on some of the happenings in our world. So just as a reminder, the students that are qualified for reduced price breakfast or lunch this year, they are continuing to eat at no charge. That is scheduled to happen throughout the school year or until the funding runs out. So as far as I know, it's going to continue through the school year. It is right now unclear whether that will happen next year, but I'm kind of doubtful that it will. We do continue to experience food costs, an increase in food costs, labor costs, and still some supply chain issues as well. And then I wanted to let you know that this year our state participated in a new program that looked to expand the children who are directly certified for free or reduced price meals. And so it opened up to families who not only receive food assistance, but also the state medical insurance as well. And because of that, we did experience an increase from 15% to 27% of our families were actually directly certified. But of course, it's still very important for the students who are not directly certified to fill out those applications. Each year, they have to fill them out and in order to qualify for those free or reduced price meals. Okay, next slide. And so I want to give you a look at where we get our funding, how we receive our funding, and then what our requirements are in order to be eligible to receive that funding. And so we'll look at both the breakfast and the lunch program. So you'll see here the school breakfast program meal pattern. And in order to qualify for a paid reimbursement of 38 cents or a reduced cost meal reimbursement of $1.98 or a free meal reimbursement of $2.28, this is what we must provide. So you're looking at one cup of fruit, 2 grains, 2 ounces of grain. Protein is an optional component at breakfast, and then 1 cup of fluid milk. And so even though we aren't provided any extra reimbursement to offer protein, we do add protein at almost every day on the menu to ensure that we are providing that to our students. Oh, I'm sorry, can you go back one more? And another thing I wanted to add is that we participate in what's called Offer versus Serve, and this is an optional program. And really, the reason that we do participate in this is to try to cut down on food waste in our cafeteria. So we're required to offer all the components of the meal, but the students can decline up to 2 components. So basically what that looks like is each child has to walk away with 3 components of the meal. One of them has to be a fruit or a vegetable. Okay, and then here's a look at the school lunch program. So similar, we receive a paid reimbursement rate of 40 cents, reduced cost meal at $3.85, and a free reimbursement rate of $4.25. And those reimbursement rates are adjusted every year, and they have seen an increase of about 28% since 2018. So the meal pattern at lunch looks like a 1/2 cup of fruit, 3/4 cup of vegetable, 1 to 2 ounces of grains, and 1 to 2 ounces of protein or meat alternative, and then 1 full cup of milk. And again, we participate in that Offer versus Serve program to try to decrease the waste of the meal. So they're allowed to decline 2 things. They must walk away with 3 components on their tray, 1 being a fruit or a vegetable. So as I mentioned, we are experiencing some increase in costs, and we have been over the last several years. So I wanted to give you a look at the average price charged for breakfast across the country is $1.75 at the K-8 grade level. And then for lunch, $2.83 at the K-5 level and $3 at the 6-8 level. We do continue to experience food cost increases across the country. That's looked like 4.9%. Our labor costs go up every year, 0.9% since January of 2023. And then what that looks like for us when we add it all together, including food, labor, and supplies, our average cost last year was $2.89. And again, that still is trending up for us with the higher food and labor costs each year. So because of those increased costs, it is becoming more challenging to remain, fiscally responsible. And so we are looking at proposing a 25-cent increase to our meal prices next school year. So what that will look like is $1.50 for breakfast. I'm sorry, I'm losing my place. $1.50 for breakfast, $2.75 for lunch at elementary, and $3 for lunch at the middle school. And just to give you kind of a comparison of a similar district to us, which would be Scottsdale Unified, the current meal prices there are $1.50 for elementary breakfast, $2.85 for elementary lunch, $1.75 for secondary breakfast, and $3.10 for secondary lunch. So these prices would be, aligned or a little bit smaller than that amount. Okay, go ahead. So again, just a breakdown of our costs from the previous year. For each meal that we're providing, our food costs were at $1.51. Our labor costs at $1.33, and then just our paper supplies that go along with providing that meal averaged at about 5 cents for a total cost of $2.89. So if you go back to some of those reimbursement rates, so any profit that we make, that profit goes into equipment repair, equipment replacement, indirect costs, district office staff. So there really is little profit. And in fact, we do aim to be nonprofit, and our reimbursement goes back into our program to provide the highest quality meals and the best programs and educate our staff. We try to spend all of our money in those areas to make the best meal that we can. And now I'm going to introduce you to Lexi Phelps. Lexi joined us as a wellness coordinator. She's been here since last March, I believe.
Yeah, almost a
And
year.
she's made so much progress in our student wellness initiatives. So I'm really excited for her to share that with you.
I don't know if I really need this, but good evening, everyone. Good evening, President Gresham. She just left the room, but Vice President Thompson, members of the board, Superintendent Garrett, and members of the cabinet. As Kristen said, my name is Lexi, and I'm the Wellness Coordinator for Madison. It's nice to meet everyone in person that I haven't met. Yeah. So let's start with an overview of the Wellness Committee and kind of what it is, what it stands for. So the Wellness Committee is a requirement as being a part of the National School Lunch Program, and the focus is student wellness. So it's we kind of added like our staff wellness a little bit into it, but the main primary focus is student wellness. The goals for the Wellness Committee are nutrition, promotion, and education, setting and enforcing food and beverage guidelines. So this includes snacks being sold at our schools, fundraisers, things like that. So they need to make sure that they all follow healthy guidelines, updating policies, wellness leadership, and public involvement. The Wellness Committee is open to everyone, so students, staff, members of the community. And then, like I said, the Wellness Committee's primary purpose is student wellness, not for staff. Now let's talk about all the fun things I've been doing. Not everything could fit on this slide, but all 8 sites participate in Smarter Lunchroom. Smarter Lunchroom is a way cafeterias are organized and set up to give students the opportunity to select and consume a balanced diet. While providing still a variety of choices, 6 of our sites received gold status, Smarter Lunchrooms, and 2 sites received silver, but don't worry, we're working with the 2 sites to make sure that they get gold next year. 7 out of 8 of our sites have completed in farm to school events this year. All 8 will have been completed by the end of this school year. We just have 1 more planned for after spring break. All of our sites are offering local produce on the line every single day, and our milk is locally sourced. I have been working with the Rose Lane Art Department with a fun little nutrition art project. So make sure you guys go check it out at the art show that Dr. Garin was talking about. We have also expanded nutrition education this year to Camelview, Rose Lane, Park, Meadows, and Heights, with hopes to expand to #1 SIMUS and MTA by the end of the year. We are also looking into adding more gardens to our sites. There are currently gardens at Park, SIMUS, and Rose Lane. Our summer feeding program is going to offer students international cuisines every Friday. This is meant to educate students on diversity, equity, inclusion, and as well as diversify their palates. We have hosted customer service and food-friendly verbiage trainings to all of our staff so that they can help students grow and foster a healthy relationship with food. If you do a lot of research into it, it's really, really important how you say things to students in order for them to receive a positive emotion in regards to food. We have culinary clubs at Park in Camelview. We also have garden clubs at Park in Rose Lane. And we partner with Maricopa County SNAP Ed at both Camelview and Park, which are our only two schools that do qualify for their services. But they do provide the district with some additional education material that I go into the different sites and present. I have also increased our social media presence, so be sure to follow MadisonAZ_FS for more frequent updates and all the exciting things we do. And we recognize that food waste is happening, and here are ways we attempt to mitigate the amount of food lost. As Kristen was saying earlier, we do participate in the Offer versus Serve program, which gives students the independence to pick which foods they want to eat. We offer a variety of fresh, packaged, dried fruit and veggies every day. And like I said, we do offer local fruits and vegetables every single day on our lines at every single one of our campuses. Some sites do have share tables, but these are up to the discretion of the principal. Not all principals are on board with the idea, so it is up to them. And then we also host a variety of taste tests to familiarize students with new foods. It can take up 20 times of exposure for a child to like or even try a new food. So we try to give them taste tests as much as they can so they get exposure to the food and maybe more likely to try something on the line. And thank you for listening to my update on the Wellness Committee.
Well, thank you so much.
you.
Are there any questions?
Ms. Causey.
Thank you for that presentation. And Lexi, welcome. We've been waiting for you. That was a position that I was like, oh, it's still open. So it's so exciting that you're on board and you've had such good news to share with us today. I just wanted to ask you just a few questions on some resources. I helped with the DIGS program, so the gardening program is close to my heart, and I'm also a master gardener, so I'm going to throw a lot of ideas your way. I apologize in advance. So I was curious, I know you're working with SNAP, and they do work with the Cooperative Extension Master Gardener program, but have you reached out to the Master Gardener program as well?
No, so we have plans and talk. I'm talking with Patrick to try to get it going for the summer program, because now SNAP Ed is expanding it to include the summer program. So I'm going to work with him to try to see if there's a few days that we can get on the schedule for them to come in and kind of teach the students in our summer program a little bit more about gardening. And I know that Andrea Zeckman, she works at SNAP Ed, does do work at Park with their garden club.
Excellent. I'm just, because the Master Gardeners, in order to retain your, this position, which you get paid no money for, but you have to have so many hours of volunteerism every year, and the threshold is rather high. And so if you, it's an opportunity, if you connect with the Master Gardener program, for them to potentially solicit volunteers on behalf of the Madison District for your gardening program. And that's why I think connecting with them directly might be beneficial. Have you reached out to Blue Watermelon? Are you familiar with them as well?
I have not, no.
Okay, so the woman that's the executive director of Blue Watermelon in Arizona is a Madison alumni parent.
Okay.
And in fact, they're having a fundraiser this weekend in Tempe. And are you familiar with what Blue Watermelon does?
Yes.
Okay, so I will say that the program in Arizona is very active, especially in Phoenix.
Yeah.
And so it is definitely a program that you'll want to connect with. And I'm happy to connect you with her.
That would be awesome, yeah.
Ms. Causey, will you inform the rest of us what Blue Watermelon is?
So Blue Watermelon is a program where chefs and people that own restaurants, basically local, can basically educate students about about nutrition and healthy eating. It's kind of the way they give back to their community. I also think probably in the back of their minds they're also training their future employees. Probably there's probably part of that in there. But the one we have in Arizona or in Phoenix especially, you probably noticed there are a lot in the last 10 years. The number of chef-driven restaurants has grown dramatically, and as a result, there's just so much more. And a lot of them are just young millennials who are really, this is a passion that they have, and so some of the activities they've done with some other schools have been pretty exciting. So, especially because, their ED is a former parent, like we need to get on the radar. So that's why I think that'd be a great idea. And then my final question, and it's really more to probably Lori, because I know I bring this up every year, but I'm going to bring it up again, is I would so very much love if part of the registration packet that parents have to fill out includes the free and reduced lunch form. I'm going to share that. I'm going to put that out there. It's just a wish that I have. I know that we have concerns, but just, I'm putting it out there. Thank you so much.
May I respond to that? So, Member Kasi, we do include it in, but it's not a mandatory form to fill out. So you can get through the whole registration, but I'm making a note and noting it.
Because so just so I can clarify, so because we cannot require it, correct? So we can include it, but we can't make it mandatory.
That
right?
is correct.
Can we say something like we encourage you to complete all the forms for quicker registration? I mean, other
Yes.
ways that we can, I mean, that's all I'm asking.
I'm noting it because
All right,
maybe there's something we could do for another push.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Kasi?
That is all, thanks.
Okay, Ms. Thompson?
Thank you so much for coming and presenting today. My kids get to choose a couple times a week that they get to have school lunch, and they just love it. Let me tell you how much they love the tamales and how disappointed they are when they're at the end of the 4th grade line and they run out of tamales. But they love them. So that actually brings up another issue. I know a few years ago they used to do a Top Chef competition, and I would love to see something like that come back. My kids still talk about wanting to do it because the siblings of one of their friends won it a few years ago and got their recipe on the school lunch menu for a little bit. And I think that's such a great way to tie kids in with the food service and just getting excited about something that a friend did or a friend's sibling did or something like that.
Yes, I've been letting Lexi get her feet wet in some other areas. but
Understand.
yes,
That
that
in the
is on the
works.
horizon.
Totally understand. So excited to see that. Also, wanted to share the share tables. I think are wonderful. Even when I'm packing my kids' lunch and I say, "Are you sure you have enough?" They say, "Don't worry, we have the share table if I'm still hungry." So even for kids who aren't getting purchased lunch, I think it's wonderful to have that option available. And I really hope that the principals take a look at that, because at a school like Heights, it's working. I think it's working really well. And I've noticed over the years that waste has, I watched when my kids were smaller and there was a lot going in the trash can, and to have that on the share table, I think is wonderful. And then just one thing to add, there actually is a really tiny garden at Heights that the preschool program has. And I think the REACH program is about to put in another garden right next to that one. So just so you know, if you want to add that to your list.
Oh, it is tiny. But
It's
yes.
tiny. It's tiny. It's probably like 8 by 4 or something, but it's right near the Mac rooms. It's
So are the
small.
preschoolers.
And the preschoolers are tiny. And the REACH program is actually doing something too. They're about to put in a new garden, a small garden too. So.
That's growing.
And we are doing a small little version of Top Chef at Heights. Actually, the 4th graders are making a little menu, and our cafeteria manager over there is going to pick 2 winners, and they have to follow all of our school guidelines, so there might be some adjustments, but their meal that they plan will be highlighted on our school menu.
Fun.
So super small scale, but
They already reported that. I think they're doing it by country. I think the kids.
yes.
So there was a whole discussion amongst their friends about which country they were going to be selecting.
Cute.
Thank you. Mr. Holcomb, do you have any?
Yes, I wanted to thank you for the presentation. I'm not a master gardener, I'm more of a master eater, but, so if you need help in that regard, I mean, I'm a professional. But I want to congratulate you. I've seen the food services program just grow in innovation and trying to provide in the quality of it. And I really appreciate all the effort that you put into to really not just serve the food, but really make it something great for the kids. I also want to thank you too. It's wonderful to see people come up and do a presentation and seem to enjoy it so much. I mean, it was really great. You guys apparently never work a day in your life. So, in any event, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Spear, do you have anything?
Thank you so much to both of you for your presentation. And I also echo Ms. Kazi's. I'm wondering if there's a way with regards to the filling out of the form. I just know that I have to register my high schooler and I have to fill out that form. I am required to fill out that form before I'm able to move on to register him. And even if it's just a check, I've seen the form or something to that effect, because the reality is we do know kids go hungry, and we want to make sure that we're able to support them in to the best of our ability. And to that end, I also wanted to say thank you for your mindfulness as how you regard food and how you communicate about food choices and nutrition with our students, especially our younger, all of our students. Social media and our current culture may highlight some negative relationships with food, and I wanted to commend you for trying to provide some balance. And so I just wanted to say thank you for that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Spear. I do have a few questions as well, and thank you for being here. It's nice to meet you. I did serve on the Wellness Committee for a couple years before I was on the board. And hopefully that's coming back. Have there been meetings or recruiting? Do we have a lot of participation?
We do have quite a bit increase of participation. We have lots of parents, we have community members, and as well as teachers. So I'm hoping to get some students in there, just to get their opinions too, because they are our target audience at the end of the day. And I think it's important to get, some of theirs might be like, can we get McDonald's? But,
Yes, yes.
try to get them involved as much as possible so they feel like they have a say in what goes on.
That would be great.
As well as nutrition education. So that's my big push, is trying to get some students involved. But I have seen quite a bit of an increase in participation.
Excellent.
I have a principal there too, from number
Good.
one.
Yeah, I
So
think we used to have the goal of having at least a representative from each school, and then I think it was like 4th grade and up a student could come to, so that's great. And yes, I love the school gardens. I would love it if all of our campuses had a school garden, if we can get that to happen somehow. I know it takes a lot of volunteers and such, but maybe if it's after school, we could get some master gardeners, would be amazing, or the blue watermelon people. Let's see, what else and I've always followed your social media, so I like seeing those. There was for a while confusion about as far as like the smart snacks and when PTOs were trying to do like things during the day and what they could serve. So hopefully that got worked out, or maybe we can have a little better communication with the PTOs as far as what's allowed. So that's been kind of back and forth for a while. And then is juice still considered a fruit when they pick?
It is.
So, and I understand with the waste, and I'm glad that we can have the share tables, because I did have some parents asking about that, because I know, especially the first few times you go into a cafeteria and you see all the stuff the kids are not eating, it's like, oh. So I'm glad to see that. But yeah, because they can choose, and we hope they choose wisely, but not always. So they'll choose a juice, and then they leave all the fresh fruit and vegetables. So I do see sometimes there's a lot of sugar in their breakfast. So I'm happy to hear that you do offer protein at breakfast, which is great. But yeah, I don't know the solution to that, but that's what kids do. But I like that's all I have, unless you have any comments about that or.
As far as breakfast goes, so at breakfast we do offer 100% juice, so it is 100% juice, just so you know. And at lunch we try not to really offer juice as a fruit or vegetable option. We have it, obviously, for students who don't want to drink milk, but we really want them to take an actual fruit or vegetable. So we've done that for years, just to try to encourage them to take the fruit or vegetable.
For sure, because they'll always take the sweetest option. But yes, I did notice the lunches. They do make a little better choices than the breakfast.
Yeah, and the sugar at breakfast is kind of a natural consequence because of the meal pattern, but that's why we try to offer the protein options to kind of combat that. So at least they're getting some protein to tide them up for until lunch, kind of thing.
For sure. All right. Well, thank you. Does anyone have anything else? Dr. Garrett?
I just want to mention that Chef Alfonso's appetizers were in honor of this presentation, so thank you for that treat. We really appreciated it.
Just wanted to show off his skills. He's very talented, and feel so lucky to have him. And he's now working with the students over at Camel View, which he just absolutely loves. You can just see he lights up about it. So that's what he loves to do. So thank you for allowing him to do that.
That's great. Oh, we will, anytime he wants to, he can experiment all he wants on it. Thank you so much.
Just,
Oh, Mr.
real quick, I know Camelback High School has a fairly strong culinary program. I wonder if you have any relationship with that, because a number of our students, go to Camelback.
Yes, we don't, but it is something we have talked about for a long time. Possibly when Top Chef returns, we're talking about trying to reach out to the local high schools with culinary programs to see if we can get those students to come work with our students and help them with their recipes. Wouldn't that be amazing? And like kind of do something over at the theater and be more of almost like a class in a way for the students.
A number of the park students go there too, so
Yes.
that connection
Yeah.
would be, I think, natural.
Yeah, so I think I would love to do that in the future.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we have a super fun topic next. Our discussion on these goals. So we did, of course, our evaluation, but I thought we'd just have a little guidance as far as what we should expect from ourselves. And of course, these are open to suggestions and changes. So it's just a discussion item. Anyone?
Yeah, if
Oh,
I may,
Mr.
I was the one who brought up the idea about having goals that reflect, section 3 or 4 of the strategic plan. Just overall, I think most everything we do should hopefully be able to be tied back to our strategic plan. And as I was looking at the goals, which I thought were good, and comment, but I thought it was missing more on that, and in particular in regard of going out in the community, getting partnerships and pursuing those things.
That's kind of what I was going for with, maybe number 4, like resources. So, I mean, we could change it somehow to make it reflect
but
that.
I think it would be beyond just the resources, is really trying to work those partnerships as much as
Maybe
anything.
change it to
But
partnership?
working through that. But that's what I didn't have a good solution or good, but I wanted to have people thinking about that and see what we put in there as goals.
Yes, we could even we don't have to do this now, but attach each one to part of the strategic plan is a good idea.
I think that would be good as well. I think those demonstrations that we are using the strategic plan are always helpful. I did have one other comment too, and on 5 about the idea about assigning a board member to each school for the PTO. I understand the advantage of that, but I also thought it would be better to have us, not have a board member identified so strongly with just one school. And but that was my only comment there.
Yeah, we can make it more general. I think Ms. Kazi had something first.
So I kind of thought number 4 was more advocacy for, policy, funding. That's kind of how I saw that.
what I
And
first-
so I kind of added 2 more to reflect goal, strategic plan goal areas, 3 and 4. So the first was promote hiring opportunities through personal networks quarterly, or something to that effect. Or it could be something effective like lifting up Madison staff quarterly, something like, I think that would be appropriate. And then the second idea for the optimized resources was identify new community resources / partnerships to support Madison students and goals. And I mean, we could put, I think we could certainly have something specific in there, like identify at least one, or we just put identify, whatever works, but those were just some suggestions I had.
Yeah, I like that. Instead of number 4, we could use that one. But yeah, I like being specific, so when we go back and evaluate ourselves again, we can say if we fulfilled these or not. Did you have anything else?
That is what I have.
Thank you. Ms. Thompson?
I was going to make a similar suggestion because I think it's twofold. I would like to see number 4 stay because I think it's our job as governing board members. We can speak uniquely to policy in a way that others might not be able to. So I think that language in number 4 is important, but I also think each of us have relationships in the community. I mean, just like Blue Watermelon, right? Or the Master Gardeners program. I mean, that was a perfect example of how how each of us has a connection in any of, many of the areas that the school district is involved in, that we can help. We can help either bring the organization to the school district or the school district to the organization to assist. So I'd like to see those. It could be combined into one, but I think we need to make it clear that there's an expectation that we as board members are doing both.
Thank you. Anything else, Ms. Spear?
I actually had number 2 under the suggested goals. I tend not to go to an ASBA conference unless I know I can go to all 3 days. The fee is fairly high per individual, and if I have actually been Mitrakazi at a conference at one point, because I'm loath to spend the money if I know I cannot attend all 3 days due to work. And so, I know that I was not able to meet that suggested goal, but it was calculated on my part because I cannot justify the cost. I can't ask taxpayers to pay for me to go to a conference if I can only go for half of one day. And so I want to be mindful of, and I realize that we have a budget, and I realize we underspend when it comes to our professional development. And I know the professional development is important, but if I'm able to get the materials from one of you and continue to work my day job, I'm going to do that. So there's a balance there that I think needs to be noted for future board members because everybody has different demands on their daytime. And so I just wanted to kind of bring that point up. And I also agree with Member Holcomb with regards to assigning a board member to individual PTOs. I think that is one of those ideas that is really good on paper, but I think it can translate to a siloed effect within our board. And that is one of the benefits that our board has experienced is we all are able to go to all of the campuses, of course, checking in with principals first because we don't just show up. But, it's that to me has been a benefit that I'm able to go to each of the campuses and I'm not 9 to 1.
Sure.
So I just
Well,
wanted
that was meant more not to, we only go to one campus, but that was more for leadership, and if we kind of kept our eye on, each had our eye on a school, not that we wouldn't go to, obviously we want to go to every school, but that's where I was going with that, but that's a good point.
Absolutely appreciate that because I think that is something that happens organically more often than not, especially since we've all been parents. But in terms of, I just wanted to kind of, that's all I have. Otherwise, I think that these are all wonderful goals. Thank you.
Yeah, as far as the ASBA or conferences, it'd be nice if they let us do like individual days, but unfortunately that's not how it is right now. But at least I know, because you guys probably went to them many times in the past, but maybe as far as new board members, I don't know, we could think about that. Yeah, maybe the new ones need to go to some. Yes, Ms.
Maybe the way to phrase that isn't a conference, because a conference implies it's one of those 3 or 4 days things, but maybe it's something around at least one event, training, conference, because that could be a 1 day or a half a day something.
Are they still doing online? Yeah.
Yeah, it could be something, but if we put it in terms of professional development for a board member as far as a training, development, or conference, and it's any one of those things, it might give some flexibility around that, but still get to the point of what we wanted to have.
If I may, I'd agree with that because I have real trouble getting that time off on the conferences, and I've done it, a number of times and that too. Exactly. But there are different levels of professional development. But I think we all have to continue doing that professional development. So if we could rephrase it, I think that would be good.
Sounds good.
If I may too, what Ms. Kazi is talking about, I think it's almost, we could use a goal that's almost exactly, or at least based upon 4.4, pursue funding and community partnership opportunities. That's, as I was listening to you, I think that's what you were, and maybe prefer and develop our personal connections and develop. I like what has been talked about is about using our personal networks, our personal relationships, and seek to develop even more.
Sounds good. Anyone else? We can, did you get all that, Danielle? No, just kidding. Yeah.
It's
No, I was gonna say, if
I
you
did
could
take
send-
notes, so
if you
we can
could- Or,
compare.
yeah, if you want to send our suggestions, and she can just compile them, and we can have it done. Thank you for indulging me in this.
I think that's only appropriate. We draft goals for the superintendent. Now the superintendent can draft the goals.
Oh, I like that.
Can evaluate. All right, thank you, and we'll move on to our action items. 8.1, our social studies adoption. Dr. Guerin.
President Gresham, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, I will turn it over to Assistant Superintendent Barb Marshall.
Thank you. President Gresham, members of the board, and cabinet, we bring this item for action. As you recall, at the previous board meeting, we had the presentation for the social studies adoption. As a reminder, we have not had a social studies adoption for well over 15 years. In fact, our current curriculum director is a former social studies teacher in the district, and it was the materials that she used as a classroom teacher. So we anxiously look forward to a new adoption. There's been no additional feedback from the public or the teachers since that presentation, but I will share anecdotally the teachers I've interacted with are really anxious and excited about the possibility of moving forward with this. So thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments for Ms. Marshall?
Just really quickly, I just wanted to thank you. All of these adoptions are a heavy lift, and your team have done such a wonderful job on these to make sure that we include the community, that even on something like the math adoption that and I know we're not on that item, but but for teachers to get their hands on things and to use them to give feedback on items, I think really ends up putting us in a place as a district that has those adoptions run more smoothly. So thank you and your team for everything you've done.
Anyone else? All right, I will take a motion to approve our social studies curriculum.
So moved.
I will second.
Moved by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Ms. Spear, and we can vote. And that has passed unanimously. And we'll move on to 8.2, our math adoption. Dr. Guerin.
President Gresham, I can once again pass it to Barb Marshall.
Madam President, members of the board, and members of cabinet, as with the social studies adoption at the previous board meeting, we had the presentation on the math textbook adoption. This is specific for our Madison Traditional Academy. This is not a district-wide adoption. As you'll recall, the current math adoption at Madison Traditional, that company has been bought out, and they will no longer be continuing that Saxon math program. But it was a great opportunity for us to refresh and find a program that you saw overwhelmingly from that presentation, the parents, the students, and the teachers support. Again, no additional feedback from either parents or teachers. And so again, we ask for your approval moving forward with the Reveal Math.
Thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? I will note for the public that we did have presentations on this at our last meeting, and so this is our second time, and so we will vote this time. But yeah, we have had the opportunity to ask questions and review these thoroughly. So you can go back and look at our previous meeting for that.
Move to approve the math textbook adoption as presented.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Thompson, seconded by Mr. Holcomb. And that also passed. And we'll move on to 8.3, Our feasibility period for the purchase agreement expires tomorrow. So, Dr. Guerin, do you want to
Yes.
introduce Ms. Garvey?
That'd be great. President Gresham, members of the board, cabinet, and guests, 8.3 is the end of our feasibility period for purchase of a building, and I will turn it over to Deputy Superintendent to discuss.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam President, members of the board, Dr. Guerin and cabinet. I am here to report back on the feasibility or the due diligence period that we had 90 days to do some research and digging into would a building that we entered into a purchase agreement back in December work for us. And as President Gresham mentioned, we have until March 6th, which is tomorrow, officially ends our due diligence period. So just here to let you know what that netted for us. So during the feasibility or this due diligence period, we did go out, we had surveys done on the property, we had inspections of every major unit, major system done on the property, as well as met with an architect to do blocking of how could we use this building for, we had thought that it would be good for a preschool and future expansion into either preschool or other programs involving students or children. When we met with the architect, they came back, they did their study, they located everything within the building. We could fit what we need for one preschool, an existing preschool, but there wasn't any room for expansion, which was one of the requirements or thoughts going into this building as meeting district needs. In addition to that, the cost of just expanding for that one program that we may be taking over there, the preschool program, was in excess of double of what, and a little bit more than we thought it would be when we really dug in to get the full scope of what needed to be done. In addition to that, we really have to take a look at playground space because our preschool programs are licensed and we have to have a certain amount of playground space for students. And really just, there was not one continuous place where we could even have 2 classrooms at a time. We'd have to fit them into external courtyards or not courtyards, but external areas of the building. So that was not meeting the goals really of that program either. In addition to that, the cost of the lease terminations was more than we had anticipated when we entered the purchase agreement. And in addition, not all the tenants were able to vacate. So that does impact our programs and our use of the building. I think the last thing that I could mention as well, which while at first was not, by itself, we could mitigate it and look to it, was that there were definite parking challenges at the property. So when you combined all of those things together, it just, from administration standpoint, is not the right facility for us. So administration is recommending that we do not move forward with this purchase agreement. I would like to note that we did have to make an earnest deposit. As long as we notify the seller by tomorrow at 5 p.m. that we are no longer moving forward, we will receive our earnest deposit back.
Thank you, Ms. Garvey. Is there any discussion or questions from the board? No.
I'm happy to offer a motion.
Ms. Causey?
I move that we approve terminating purchase agreement due to cost of required improvements and lack of adequate classroom space.
Do a
I
second?
will second that motion.
Thank you. Moved by Ms. Causey, second by Ms. Spear. And that passes. So the aye means that we did approve to terminate the purchase agreement.
Madam President, I also want to emphasize, I think for on the board and the district, this doesn't mean we're ending our search to be able to create a preschool center, a early childhood center. In fact, I think if anything, going through this process is really focused on both our needs and our will to really try to do this. And that I'm very grateful for. We've been wanting to do it for a long time, and I think we finally hit the momentum to really make it happen. So thank you for that, Ms. Garvey, and all the staff that were involved.
Yes, yeah, we will explore other options, and of course, we want to be good stewards of our taxpayer dollars, so that's why, it's best if we don't move forward with this plan, so. Thank you. Okay, we'll move on to future meetings, 9.1, Dr. Gideon.
President Gresham, members of the board, as you know, next week is spring break. This year is just flying by, and as soon as we return, it will be testing season. So in my quarterly newsletter, I will actually share the specific dates and remind everybody that attendance really matters, always, but especially this spring. So as we scroll down to March 26th, we will plan an executive session to start at 5 p.m. to give you an IBN budget advisory update. We're super excited about our Meadows Middle School showcase, and we believe we're going to take you to the lobby, to the Center for the Arts for the Meadows Memory Project to explore some artwork there. And then we are planning on having some memorabilia from Simus's 70th anniversary. So it'll be really quite a special pre-board meeting. So you might have to allocate 20 minutes and not 15 minutes for that. So we'll have you make a different shining star. And then we're having Joy Dyer, our former Meadows teacher, and all her students that have joined together on social media and stayed connected to come celebrate. And what is her birthday?
It's her birthday, and I believe she's 90.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so
Her students are in their 70s.
So we will recognize her as part of the You Make a Difference Shining Star. We'll have her come up as well so we can meet her. So I'm really excited, and I want to thank Ms. Humphreys for organizing that. And then, of course, we have some meeting things to do. We have Madison Highland Prep School Report. We'll have IBN and Budget Advisory Committee recommendations for you. And as you know, the science of reading has been a focus, and so many of our teachers have spent hours and hours. So we're going to provide you an update on that really important work. And then in April, we will potentially have another executive session, and I will include my budget recommendations in the April meeting. So it will be a very busy time of year.
Thank you, Dr. Guerin. Mr. Holcomb, you have a...
Yeah, actually, two things. The first one's related to, on the March 26th, looking at the Meadows Middle School Memory Project and just the transition time from over there to over here. And the IBM Budget Advisory executive sessions are, that is very important. And we always, the discussion is always so robust is a perfect word, thank you, that I don't want to cut that short.
You're thinking we should start earlier?
I think we should either start earlier or start the regular, go back to the regular meeting later. I think for the memory project and considering the transition time, we should shoot that for a half an hour before the start of the executive session, because it'll take time to go back, and that way, and make sure we have at least a full hour for the executive session left. So
start 4:30 executive session, 5:30 memory project.
Either start at 4:30 or move the regular meeting back to start at 6:30, whichever works better with
Probably
people's
start
schedule.
earlier. Anyone else?
I think that moving the board meeting later is untenable for our staff. I think that we really need to be mindful of the fact they've been here since like 7:30.
Yeah.
So, I would advocate that we start our session earlier.
Well, do we want to then do the executive session so that it's 4:30 to 5:30, and then we will have the showcase from 5:30?
I would support that.
Right. And by the way, and I agree with you about that. When I started on the board, during the Jurassic period, we started the meetings at 7, and we found that that's when we moved them back to 6 o'clock because it was way too late for the staff.
Okay, anything else on the calendar?
What was I had one other thing, I apologize. And maybe that was it. I apologize. No, that's all I had. Thank you. Oh, no, I did. I'm sorry. On the Joy Dyer thing, I want to make sure, we should make sure that that gets out to the news. That is exactly the type of thing that all the the TV news channels will go for. And it's a great public school.
Press released in our central news, for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, even,
On it.
yeah, since it is video and that too, that would be perfect for
To be
TVs.
there.
Right, thank you.
Absolutely, thank you.
And Ms. Thompson, did you have something?
I was just going to make one suggestion. I remember, and this is not for this year, this is for a future, a future year. At the end of April meeting, when we do You Make a Difference in Signing Star, it's number 1 Heights, Community Ed, the district office, maintenance and transportation. Don't get me wrong, I love celebrating everyone, but it's a lot in one meeting. If we could separate those out, because we've had a few meetings where we haven't had any, if we could spread those out throughout the year a little bit more, I think that could be helpful.
Yes, I agree. And as much as we can to partner it with the showcases.
Yeah. So maybe move community ed, the district office, or the others around a little bit.
Although it does get a good crowd.
Yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Okay. Anything else for the good of the order? I'll take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Causey, second by Ms. Thompson. Lots of clicking, and that passes. We are adjourned. Thank you.